Guy Spire's journey into the heart of high finance began with all the right credentials, an elite education from Oxford University, yet it led him to a place of profound dissatisfaction. He found himself in a cutthroat environment where success seemed inextricably linked to compromising one's ethics. The relentless pressure to win, combined with a culture that often prioritized short-term gains over integrity, forced him to become what he describes as an inauthentic version of himself. This memoir is the story of his transformation, a deliberate and often difficult unlearning of the Wall Street mindset and the adoption of a philosophy that values patience, principle, and long-term thinking over quick profits and ruthless competition. Spire argues that the very elite education designed to create top financiers can sometimes be a hindrance. These institutions often impart complex theoretical models that assume perfect information and rational actors, a far cry from the messy, unpredictable reality of the markets. This focus on narrow rationality can stifle critical thinking and instinct, creating graduates who believe they have all the answers and dismiss the wisdom of experience. Furthermore, the culture of such places can implicitly condemn unconventional ideas, pushing individuals to conform rather than think independently. Spire discovered that real-world success required shedding this arrogance and embracing a more humble, learning-oriented mindset. The ethical sinkhole of some financial institutions presented a more immediate danger. Spire recounts his early experience at a brokerage firm where deceptive practices were the norm, and employees were expected to fall in line. The dilemma is stark: participate in morally dubious activities to keep your job and advance, or leave and start anew. This pressure is compounded by the innate human desire to compete and succeed. When everyone around you is cutting corners, the temptation to follow suit to avoid being left behind can be overwhelming. Spire acknowledges making such compromises himself, but frames these mistakes not as permanent failures, but as crucial learning opportunities that ultimately clarified his need for a different path. His salvation came through the writings of Benjamin Graham and, most importantly, the lived example of Warren Buffett. The philosophy of value investing was a revelation. Instead of treating stocks as speculative pieces of paper to be traded on market whims, value investing views each share as a fractional ownership in an actual business. The focus shifts from predicting short-term price movements to meticulously analyzing a company's intrinsic long-term worth. This approach, Spire realized, was inherently ethical. There is no need to hype or deceive clients when your goal is to find and hold undervalued, well-run businesses for years. By adopting Buffett as a role model, Spire learned to match and mirror the behaviors of someone who had achieved monumental success without sacrificing his principles, proving that integrity and profitability were not mutually exclusive. Breaking free required a fundamental shift in attitude. Spire had to consciously cultivate positivity and discipline, moving away from envy of others' short-term wins. He began to deliberately forge his own path, rejecting common industry practices that felt misaligned with his new values. For instance, while most fund managers maintained multiple portfolios to present different faces to different clients, Spire consolidated everything into a single, transparent portfolio. He wanted his investors to see every win and loss alongside him, building absolute trust. Though unconventional and criticized by peers, this practice became a cornerstone of his authentic professional identity. He also redefined networking. Moving away from transactional, purely professional contacts, Spire focused on building genuine, generous relationships. He started a simple but powerful habit: writing heartfelt thank you notes to anyone who helped or taught him something. This practice of expressing authentic gratitude transformed his circle, attracting like-minded individuals and creating a supportive community. He learned that being a giver rather than a taker established a far stronger foundation for a sustainable business than aggressive self-promotion. This new framework was put to the ultimate test during the 2007 to 2008 financial crisis. While others panicked, Spire, guided by value investing principles, saw a generational opportunity. Markets were pricing solid businesses as if they were doomed to fail. By having the courage to invest when fear was at its peak, he was able to secure stakes in wonderful companies at bargain prices, actions that would fuel his fund's performance for years. The crisis validated his philosophy, showing that a clear, principled strategy provides an anchor in times of extreme volatility. To sustain this approach, Spire knew he had to engineer an optimal environment. He physically moved his fund from the distracting, pressure cooker atmosphere of New York City to the calmer setting of Zurich. He structured his days to minimize distractions, avoid the noise of financial media, and create space for deep, focused research. He developed personal tools, checklists, decision-making filters to manage complexity and his own psychological biases, ensuring his choices remained disciplined rather than emotional. Ultimately, Spire's education as a value investor transcended finance. The process of aligning his work with his ethics changed him at a core level. He became more patient, more thoughtful, and more focused on building a meaningful life rather than just accumulating wealth. The book concludes with the powerful lesson that true success is not a destination defined by a bank balance, but a continuous journey of personal growth. By choosing a philosophy that respects both capital and character, one can build a prosperous career while becoming a better, more integrated person.